I mean, it's simple. You have to come out and play with the killer instinct. You have to have that intensity.
Where was that tonight?
I have no idea. I hate watching the Lakers play sometimes because towards the end they try to play the hero ball. Okay. You said LeBron James the greatest player ever?
Ever.
What about Michael and Kobe? So you just gonna pass Kobe up like that?
I'm gonna pass Kobe up. I'm gonna look at Michael. I'm gonna look at the.
I know it. Patron, America.
Yo.
Shaquille O'Neal calling out LeBron James for comparing himself to Michael Jordan feels a lot more serious when you actually dive into the numbers behind the debate. This is no longer just about opinions or fan arguments. It's about legacies supported by statistics. And once you place their accomplishments side by side, the discussion becomes a lot harder to ignore. Think about it. LeBron has already passed 40,000 career points, become the NBA's all-time leading scorer, while also ranking among the greatest passers the league has ever seen. That combination is almost impossible to comprehend. You're looking at a player who could finish as the greatest scorer in basketball history, while also being one of the best facilitators ever. On the other side, Jordan ended his career with 32,292 points, an incredible total achieved through a completely different approach to greatness. Jordan averaged 30.1 points per game, still the highest mark in NBA history, while LeBron has maintained roughly 27 points per game across more than 20 seasons. So the argument quickly turns into peak dominance versus unmatched longevity. And that's exactly where Shaq's point starts gaining weight. Jordan's greatness came in shorter stretches of total control, 6 championships, an undefeated 6-0 finals record, 6 finals MVPs, and not a single final series pushed a Game 7. That level of perfection is almost untouchable. But LeBron's resume tells a different story. He reached 10 NBA finals, captured 4 championships, and succeeded with 3 different franchises under different systems, coaches, and eras of basketball. That speaks to adaptability, endurance, and the ability to evolve at the highest level year after year.
Where do we start? It's just amazing at his age.
Yeah.
What he came into the league, what we perceived him as an athlete, a dunker.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing as a complete scorer, shooter, and everything else under the sun. So it was just a cool moment to see him get to his spot, fade away, new record.
Here's the part most people ignore in this debate. LeBron James has already played more than 1,400 regular season games, along with over 280 playoff appearances. That's essentially several extra years of intense, high-pressure basketball on top of an already historic career. Meanwhile, Michael Jordan finished with just over 1,072 regular season games and around 179 playoff games. So when critics bring up LeBron's finals losses, they often leave out one major detail. He reached that stage far more times. He remained a championship contender longer than almost any player the league has ever seen. This is where a lot of younger fans oversimplify the argument. They look at championship totals and stop there. 6 rings versus 4 rings. Case closed. But what Shaquille O'Neal is really pointing toward is the bigger picture. Because if championships alone decided greatness, then players like Robert Horry would automatically belong in every GOAT conversation too. That's why context matters. The level of competition matters, longevity matters, and staying elite across multiple eras matters just as much as collecting titles.
They didn't have focus, and I'm glad the Rockets beat them. We know what needs to be done to win the championship. LeBron knows that. I'm surprised that they didn't come out with that effort and intensity, and I'm super disappointed in the Lakers.
Now let's talk about all-around impact, because this is where LeBron James really stands out. He has averaged roughly 7 rebounds and 7 assists over his career, a level of production almost unheard of for a player who has also carried such a massive scoring load for so long. On the other side, Michael Jordan averaged about 6 rebounds and 5 assists per game. Still elite numbers, but his game was built more around scoring dominance and elite perimeter defense rather than orchestrating the entire offense. Defensively, Jordan clearly has the edge in accolades. A Defensive Player of the Year award and 9 All-Defensive First Team selections speak for themselves. LeBron, while capable of elite defense, especially in key moments and playoff runs, hasn't maintained that same defensive peak consistently across his entire career. And this is where the debate becomes more complex than just stats. You're no longer just comparing players. You're comparing roles and responsibilities. Jordan was the ultimate scorer and closer, the player you trusted with a final shot no matter the situation. LeBron functions more like a system by himself, controlling tempo, reading the floor, and often choosing the optimal play over the spectacular one. Depending on what you value more, your conclusion changes. Even advanced metrics keep the argument close. LeBron ranks near the top in all-time player efficiency ratings, alongside Jordan, and leads in cumulative metrics like win shares largely because of his unmatched longevity and sustained production. But Jordan's peak seasons remain legendary, stretches where he was considered virtually unstoppable on both ends of the floor, dominating games in a way few players ever have.
I'm gonna say one thing to you, and Max. I don't know the numbers like you do. Michael Jordan is what in the finals? 6 and what?
Oh.
And what is LeBron in the finals? That's all I gotta say.
This is where a lot of younger fans tend to oversimplify the whole debate. They try to lock greatness into a single definition and apply it to every era and every player. But Shaquille O'Neal is really pointing out something deeper. Greatness doesn't look identical for everyone. The greatness of Michael Jordan was built on pure dominance, control, and finishing every opportunity without hesitation. Meanwhile, the greatness of LeBron James is built on adaptation, evolution, and sustaining an elite level far longer than most players ever reach. Different paths, different styles, same elite tier of impact. And that brings Shaq's message into focus. When he says stop comparing, it's not an insult toward LeBron. It's more of a recognition that the comparison itself can limit how we understand his career. Because when you step away from the Jordan comparison, LeBron's resume becomes even more extraordinary on its own terms. All-time leading scorer, top 5 all-time in assists, over 20 All-Star selections, multiple MVPs, championships with different franchises, and still performing at a high level deep into his late 30s and early 40s. That kind of sustained production across eras is its own form of greatness, one that stands whether or not another name is in the conversation.
When LeBron passes up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in points, and he will this year, will that make him the greatest player ever? An interesting question.
This is where the comparison starts to distort both careers. When LeBron James is constantly measured against Michael Jordan, every outcome gets magnified. Every missed shot, every playoff exit, every finals loss turns into a legacy argument instead of just part of a long career. That's the pressure Shaquille O'Neal is pushing back on. The idea that LeBron's greatness always has to be filtered through one comparison. If you step outside that frame, it stops looking like a direct rivalry and starts looking like two different models of greatness. Jordan represents the peak, the highest level of dominance compressed into a shorter span. A player who controlled games with scoring, intensity, and perfection in the biggest moments. LeBron represents a marathon. Sustained excellence over an unprecedented length of time, across eras, team systems, and roles. A player who bends a game through passing, scoring, and overall control of tempo for 2 decades. That's why the conversation shifts when you remove the constant comparison. And now it becomes a real philosophical question. If LeBron ends with something like 40,000 plus points, 10,000 plus rebounds, and 10,000 plus assists, does that kind of all-around statistical accumulation outweigh the idea of playoff perfection and scoring dominance from Jordan? Or does peak perfection in the biggest moments still hold more weight than long-term accumulation?